Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment. See anybody online? We'll go ahead with the minutes. Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes from last week?
I move to approve as presented.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Commissioner comments and committee reports. Would you like to start?
I don't have any this week.
Okay.
I just remind everybody that voting is open for the primary here at the courthouse till Monday at noon, and then the polling places, who does any polling places on Tuesday. Good opportunity to vote for your leaders and for other issues on the ballot.
Okay. I had a kneecap meeting Thursday night, which lasted 4 hours, which was a long meeting. And I have another area agency on aging meetings, the 4th, that's next Thursday. So those are things that I will be attending. I also want to remind people of the upcoming fair next week in Effingham. The fair will be Tuesday, but there's already things starting, a lot of judging and things like that that are kind of preempt the actual goings on. So get involved and have fun and enjoy the fair. Okay, first thing on the agenda is to canvass the city of Atchison special election. So by direction, this is a hearing, so I'll open the hearing for the canvass. Michelle.
I do have a couple of handouts, which I like to try to present everybody with some of the statistics, and I will present this to the city of Atchison. Oops,
Thank you.
the city of Atchison is one. Yeah, I'm gonna just put one here. Yes, thank you. The county clerk's office was called to do a special election for the city of Atchison for July 14th, 2022. The election was treated as a regular election. We had 1,056 voters, about a 15% turnout for anybody who was eligible to vote in that election. We had 8 precincts opened at 4 polling sites, plus an additional office, county clerk's office, election or voting for early voting. We used 16 board members and 4 staff members. We had 106 advanced ballots. The advanced ballots are those who go out in the mail to qualified people after filling out an application. 59 of those were returned, and we had 337 early voting in our office. So out of everything that we received, we did have some question ballots, also known as provisional ballots. Councilor Henderson and I went through these ballots and predetermined for the canvas board the recommendations as to whether or not they should or should not count. I also brought the Kansas election standards, which kind of has some of the information in there as well, if we need any reference. But I have a total of 40, and I've broken them down at the bottom of the sheet here, as far as the classifications that we have put these in. During the election, we had to close the registration according to standards and statutes. We had to close the registration for applications for people to register to vote. In that process, we had some very upset people. Upon looking at the federal guidelines, comparing those to the state guidelines, statutes and such, we determined that we would reopen our voter registration rolls on the 8th. So we opened them the 8th through the 12th. That kind of coincided because the federal government allows 30 days. You can shut the registration off at 30 days prior to the election. The state allows 20 days, 21. We have to close it at 21. So what we did was we reopened it because we did not give them the 30 days allowed by the state since we had such a heavy primary with the question. So we were asked basically, and I accepted to reopen the voter registrations, which we processed quite a few. So
That was on recommendation of Secretary of State.
correct.
Yes.
Mhm. Correct.
That's just
I was
what
gonna
I
say-
wanted to reiterate. Like, you followed all the rules based on what your job is.
Absolutely.
And you were given guidance from the Secretary of State
Mhm.
that, hey, you need to open this again.
Correct. Correct. Well, I mean, we were following the letters from the way they asked for the election to the end. So, and which we're doing again now with the primary election.
Absolutely.
But yes, I have 40 total provisional ballots. And like I said, Counselor Henderson and I went through those. So I'd like to just present them to you and ask for your, I'll give you the recommendations and you guys can go from there. The recommendations are based off of statutes and I have all of that within my categories here. So.
Do we, Pat, vote on every category or do we?
That's what we've done in the past.
Okay, so each one of these points here,
Mhm.
we will make a.
And I'll try to go down in order. We do the provisionals in a way to where we protect the privacy of those voters. I have the ballots here that are sealed in the envelopes. However, there are voter registration cards on the back that will be processed. But basically, once we approve or deny the votes, I will take them, separate them from the envelopes so that their vote is still going to be protected. So we won't share any names or anything because we want to keep the privacy of that voter going. So in the first category, I have 15 registered voters who moved within the county. They did go to their correct polling locations and they did receive the correct ballot. Per K.S.A. 25-2353, the updated information has been corrected on their voter registration. So the recommendation would be to count these 15.
And they moved into the cities.
They moved either within the city or into the city. Mhm.
I'd move to accept these ballots, 15 ballots.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those 15 are counted.
I have 9 ballots that were mailed out for advance voting. These were returned to the ballot. They returned the ballots after the polls closed at 7 o'clock. These all came in the mail and or were returned to the office. So, but in the mail, they have to have the postmark by election day, and we have to receive them by that Friday. So I have 9 of those. The recommendation basically, if the voter returned a ballot after the polls closed, the recommendation is not to count it unless it has been returned postmarked on or before election day by the Friday after the election. So these have all been returned to us prior to that Friday. So I have 9.
I move to accept the 9 ballots.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3-0 to accept this.
I also have a large number here that were affected in regards to the voter registration. The voters registered between the 8th and the 12th after we reopened the registration. And then they wanted to vote prior to the election office being able to work those registrations. So per K.S.A. 25-2311, basically, it just tells you the opening and closing of the registration period, which is the 20 days. But I wanted to reiterate basically that with the guidance of the Secretary of State, we reopened for those 3 days. So these are all prior to the special election, but they were within that open timeframe. So the recommendation to count these would be yes on these 9.
I move to accept the voter registered when rolls were reopened July 8th and 12th. 9 ballots.
It's been moved and seconded to accept these. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. They will be counted.
I have 2 provisional ballots, basically where there was a technical error. There were some addresses that were annexed into the city limits of Atchison. And I want to say clerical technical error because we did not get that information to change on our voter rolls. We changed it on our street files in the Orion for taxing for real estate and such, but we did not get them changed on our voter files. So those have been corrected. But these street files were incorrect, showing the incorrect precinct because it showed them in a surrounding township. But the rules for canvassers basically is that no ballot or any portion thereof shall be invalidated by a technical error. So the recommendation on this would be to count these as well.
I move to count this street file incorrect to the technical error. 2 ballots.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those 2 will be counted.
I have one who turned 18 prior to the election. When we do our elections, we have to put everything into our poll pad system, the iPad registration system. We have to do what's called the import export. This was not done prior to this voter voting. So this voter is eligible. This voter was 18 at election day. So K.S.A. 25-2306, which is basically registrations by persons under 18, being the minimum age to vote. So it says no person may vote at any election until he reaches or they reach the age of 18. This voter was 18 on election day, but turned 18 just a little prior to.
So they can actually register while they're.
Absolutely.
And they can register before.
Absolutely.
but
And
then
we
they have to
recommend
wait
that.
Until that time.
They can recommend, or they can register at 17 as long as they're going to be 18 before the next election.
Okay. That's
So,
interesting.
yes, we do have a lot on file. And in our Elvis system, it automatically updates them to an active voter, which had we not had to put it in the iPad, it would have updated.
I think there's a misunderstanding. You have to be 18. If you're in that window.
No, you do not have to be 18 to register. Yeah. So definitely.
That's the reason I questioned.
Contact
It's
us.
like that was news to me. So
Mhm, yes. So
always learning something.
they
I
can.
move to accept 1 ballot of voter turned 18 prior to the election.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That vote will be counted.
We had a registered voter who requested an advance ballot. They did not receive that ballot. They came in and voted with our office. Basically, the recommendation on that would be yes, as long as the voter who received the advance ballot, or in her case, she did not because she was going to another location, then they didn't make that move at that point yet. But she has not voted in any other part of this election. This is the only ballot that has been cast by this person. So we don't have anything in the early or advanced or at polls for this one specific person. So the recommendation would be to count this since this is their only ballot.
I would move that we accept the ballot, for the advance ballot, put it at the polls, 1 ballot.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. That vote will be counted.
I have one voter who registered through DMV. DMV did the incorrect address. I think it was like a transposition between her actual address and her apartment. So K.S.A. 25-1122, it's in regard to voting. And as long as the voter provides a valid form of identification to the election officer in person or providing that information to the canvassing board, which I was actually at the polling location when she was there. So I actually did verify her address on her photo ID. So her address was incorrect as far as from her driver's license, which then in turn, since it was through DMV, we brought in the wrong address as well.
Okay.
She did fill out a new voter registration. She was very awesome about it. But the recommendation is to count this ballot as well.
Accept this DMV incorrect address ballot.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That vote will be counted.
I have 2 ballots where the voters were not registered at all. They've tried to register on election day. And K.S.A. 25-2302 basically is the duty of the qualified voter is to register. So we have the opening, I reiterated the opening and closing of the days. And with the being open, those 3-day window, we received a lot. So, but the recommendation is to not count these.
I moved that to count the not registered voters, 2 ballots.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
May I ask a question on that one?
Mhm.
So I know the voter information is private, but then do you reach out to them to explain what they did wrong?
We have a voter registration card,
Awesome.
so they will be
So
registered.
they'll know
Yes.
next time.
Yes.
This is how they
Mhm,
should do it.
mhm. Yes, and these voter registrations cards, we've held everything because it's not been canvassed yet.
Awesome.
But basically that's going to be one of our top priorities is to get all of these voter registrations updated, and then we'll do the import export. So we'll update the system before election.
Awesome.
So everybody will be active and ready to go.
Okay.
It's amazing that almost 40% of the voters were either advanced or done here at the courthouse. It's huge. Right?
Mhm. We try to offer the best services we can, which they haven't changed. We've always been able to vote early. We've always been able to do the advance. We do have permanent advance for those who have disabilities and can't quite stand for long periods of time, or, with the weather, sometimes it affects their breathing. And so we do have permanent advance to where they just get the ballots as long as it pertains to where they're at. So if their district is in an election, they will get a ballot in the mail immediately, and it's 20 days prior to the election. So,
Okay, how long will it take you to finish the canvas? then?
well, that was one of the questions. I had to bring in my separate box. So I have a box with the special election because we are actively working on our primary election. So I just have to pull the one out and put the new one back in, or put the July election box back in. We're going to open up our emergency chute for everyone voting for the primary. And we'll run these ballots through. I'll update the abstract, have the abstract updated for you guys to sign. I'm going to say, if you guys go into, if you have an executive session that you guys can maybe fill in this spot, I'm going to say 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
So.
And we may have to just recess for a while, but we'll go
Mhm.
ahead with our business.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm gonna hand you these. These are the notes. I don't want to, I'm not taking those upstairs with me because I don't want to get them mixed up. So
Sure.
we'll take just the yeses. But yeah, we'll get up there because we'll have to open everything, feed it through the machines, and run the tape. The tape may not, it shouldn't take very long to run because it's
Okay.
just the one question.
So we'll now recess from the hearing until the next information can be
Yeah,
presented.
absolutely. I'll bring you abstracts and we'll get the abstracts approved and signed and we'll be good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you also, Mr. Henderson, for your help on that. Candace.
I don't want to, it wasn't incorrect at all, but you asked a question about the provisionals. Their office also contacts the provisional voters to let them know if they're counted or not counted and why.
Okay.
And that's it's a great thing. I know it takes a lot of time to do, but they do that.
That's awesome.
And then we have the provisional receipt that we hand out to those people who have a provisional ballot, which will tell them when the canvas is, and we'll explain to them in a little bit more as far as why their ballot may have been.
Interesting. Thank you.
Next, EMS Commission Report. That's been for our viewing, and another good report that will be put on file. we had discussed this morning with Debbie Thompson, the 2 disaster relief application approvals, and I believe they're not quite ready, so we'll do that next week.
Well, we're not meeting
Or-
next week, right? So
sorry.
August 8th, I think.
August 8th,
Yes.
okay. Also, we had looked at the United Way donation approval, and we want to find out the level of participation we want to do with that, so we will also do that on the 8th. County council updates. We don't, okay, that'd be during executive sessions, okay.
I do have I didn't print it out, I should have, a contract for approval for an addition of Matthew Rich as an attorney on the juvenile and misdemeanor appointment list to cover the balance of this year. And that will be at the same rate as the other members of the panel, which is a little over $3,000 per month. Mr. Lane will be coming off of that, and so Mr. Rich will be replacing him. So that I need the approval of the board for that contract. And I did not print it for you.
It's the same contract as the standard contract.
It's almost identical to the ones for the other attorneys on there, except it's dated, this one, of course, is dated in July. And the compensation, this one starts July 26th and ends on
And
December.
it's only signed by the chairman.
And it's only signed by the chairman.
So I make a motion to approve the contract, allowing the chairman to sign for the commission.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3-0 approved. Ready for executive session. I believe we're in need of an executive session.
Yes.
For how long? And with who being present?
Shelley Nelson, Judy Moore, Mark Silver.
3 commissioners in fact.
Yes.
Do you want to read?
Yep, I can do that. And sorry, how long?
30.
30. Okay, so I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 1:24 PM to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B1, and that the purposes of the closed session is to protect the privacy rights of the employee, and that the board come out of the executive session in 30 minutes in the commission room basement of the courthouse. Those present will be the 3 commissioners, county counselor, financial director, HR director, and community corrections director.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. We're now going into executive session. Okay, we're back in session after executive session. I have an announcement that Shelley Nelson from Community Corrections has accepted another position and has turned in a resignation effective September 6th. So we want to wish her well on her new position. And so we're going to be looking to also fill her vacated spot. So
It's within the courthouse. It's still within the county.
yes, so,
We said another position.
okay, come on up. Yeah, we're on and perfect timing.
Good, good. Okay,
Do I have to call the session, the hearing
Yes.
back in order?
basically, the 38 ballots were processed. We have a grand total of yes votes, 329, no votes, 767 on the question submitted by the city of Atchison.
Okay. some people might say, well, why go to all this fuss? But every vote counts, every vote needs to be
Absolutely.
counted. We need to go through the process and it's be transparent about how the process works.
Mhm.
So if someone's watching now, they understand how this works. So everything needs to be accounted
And
for.
we've had elections where there's just a few votes separating.
Well, if I remember right, just last year, we had one for a city council, not Atchison City, but one of our third cities of the third class. We had one of the council members, there was a tie.
Right.
So.
That's right, we had a gunfight or something.
Exactly. I actually have 3 copies of the final abstract I'd like for you to all to sign, because I would like to present one to the city of Atchison as well with all of my other documentation. So,
We
I
all three
just-
sign all three?
yes, there's all 3.
Okay.
So I'll just start it around. I guess I could have passed it. Just a little side note, thank you. The primary election that we have going on is running strong. We have had, gosh, I can't remember now, over 400 in-person early voters and over 300 and something. I can't remember now exactly, Jack, what I
You
said
told me
earlier.
what- told me.
Over 380 something, I believe, 381 on the mail. Today is the last day to request mail ballots. We are advanced or early voting in office every day, basically until Monday at noon. But we are going to have some extended hours, and I wanted to kind of put a little bit of a emphasis. We are going to extend our hours Wednesday and Thursday until 7, and then Saturday noon or 10 to 2 for
Good for you.
people to come in to vote.
Good for you.
We have a lot of people that leave town too early. They can't get back until it's time. And, you know, you just never know on election day. So this is just that opportunity to reach out and grab a few more voters. So
Excellent.
Wednesday and Thursday until 7, 8:30 in the morning till 7 at night, and then Saturday, 10 in the morning till 2.
Also,
So.
goes along with the election is that we will not have a meeting next week.
Correct.
We decided this back in our organizational meeting that we will not meet the week of the primary and the general election. And then we will canvass on the 8th, which is Monday. So we will bring our meeting one day forward on the Monday. And we will do this process for the primary.
Primary and the general. So, and with us doing the canvas on Monday, after the primary and the general, it doesn't take an additional publication. So it's saving a little bit of money too. So, okay,
Excellent.
so
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good.
Is that,
I think that concludes everything that I have for the
Okay.
special election. Yes, as far as
I
the
will close
canvas.
the hearing then.
Perfect.
Thank you very
Perfect.
much.
Thank you.
Okay. Uh, Public comments? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I know we adjourn at 1.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0, we are adjourned.
30.